We're talking with the one and only Dave. Hi. What's your take on the Mike McDaniel hire and some of the hires he's made?
I hope you don't have to be the dictator coach. He is the opposite of Brian Flores, just as Flores was the opposite of Adam Gase. It's the game the Dolphins have played for the last 20 years, pretty much. Can he make it? We'll sit here and I'm done prejudging coaches, right?
Yeah, it's possible.
Right? I mean, how many times have we done this? Oh, look at the hires he's made. He's great.
Yeah.
He's great.
It does seem like it's dissipating a little bit, and some of the restrictions and the parameters, the guidelines that people are operating under. Or, I don't know how it is in other states, but Florida was, let them bleed Ron DeSantis.
I don't know.
He is to governing what Steve Smoger was to refereeing boxing matches. Old double S out of New Jersey there, Smoger. You guys would know him if you saw him, Smoger. And he was a fabled New Jersey referee mostly, but became internationally known. He would just let two guys, they could have their skulls crushed in, but with a sledgehammer in the third round, bleeding like a sieve. And he go, okay, guys, let's go. I'll let you know when we're going to stop it. Let's keep fighting. It was old Ronnie Deeman, the governor here in Florida.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Happy holidays, everybody. Good to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Michael Lubie, Lubitz on the ION channel, where the defense never rests. We are here on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Should have a lot of fun today. We had to juxtapose a couple of things. John Congemi, who normally joins us every Monday with Dateline Dolphins, which I think we may need to address a change there. Although, that was kind of a local thing, and it was based on a theory that you could talk about the Miami Dolphins in South Florida year-round and 24 hours a day on a radio station, and people wouldn't even notice that you had ignored completely all other sports. But John Congemi really does branch out and talk about all the things that are involved in the National Football League. There have been many issues with the Miami Dolphins. You could probably go through those all during the offseason. But nonetheless, John couldn't make it today, so he's going to be with us tomorrow. So we'll have our Dateline Dolphins NFL conversation with John Congemi tomorrow. And I did want to get into it because he is also remember when there was like a dual role for a lot of writers and reporters where the guy had like a major beat like the National Football League, but then he was also the horse racing or golf writer or something that was a little bit less mainstream. And John is our golf correspondent, and there are big issues going on with the PGA. I was just reading an article in the New York Post about how the PGA blew it in trying to stave off this whole move that's being made by the Saudis, who want to start a rival golf league, and they've been trying to lure some of the top players away from the PGA. They haven't really had great success doing that so far. I don't know who they've signed. Greg Norman is the face of this new golf league they're trying to start, or a golf organization. And they have made approaches to virtually all of the top players, but most of the top players are now denouncing that idea because the PGA is saying, hey, listen, you go with them, that's it, you're out. And it's kind of interesting because the PGA is in a little bit of a precarious position, much like other major sports are, in that they are a tax-exempt charitable organization, Lubie, if you can imagine that, the PGA. You don't think these executives are getting paid handsomely to run this tax-exempt charitable organization?
Are you kidding me?
It's unbelievable, yeah. So they had a chance by giving in a concession to something that the players wanted to get going, some kind of alternate 8-tournament event that I think was going to have a team concept. And they had a chance to stave off this whole move by the Saudis. And instead, they decided that, no, that's not happening. And the players were very upset about that because it showed and it was convincing. And I don't know that it was damning evidence, but obviously it showed what a conflict that this whole thing is, where they have the tax exemption for being a 501c company, which is a charitable organization. But at the same time, they weren't exactly doing the things that they said in their bylaws, which was to be all about the players and helping them develop. They're pocketing an enormous amount of cash and obviously wanted to protect that. Jay Monahan is the new commissioner, current commissioner of the PGA. I keep thinking it's Tim Fincham. What happened to him? He retired, right? Tim Fincham. He was a longtime commissioner of the PGA, and they've come under some scrutiny. It's hard to hear like a guy like Phil Mickelson. I like Phil. I'm a Phil Mickelson fan. But it's hard to hear somebody like Phil Mickelson whining and complaining about the amount of money that these guys are making, saying that it might be a little bit short when Phil's averaging, about $60 million a year or something like that. Talk about drafting in behind the success of Tiger Woods. Phil will be the first to admit it. And he's been kind of pointed out and some unscrupulous endeavors also with insider trading and other things. So, that whole business about the degenerate gambling, which I respect greatly on the part of Phil Mickelson. He's not afraid to send it in, Lubie. He'll send in like $300,000 on a game.
He goes.
Yeah, I mean, he's Money Mayweather with a 9-iron. I'd like to take a 9-iron to my own skull after the gambling weekend I had. I have never been mowed down so consistently. Our good friend Big Rich, big fan of the show, was with me yesterday at a local pari-mutuel facility, and in virtually every race that I was involved in, I got mowed down at the finish.
Oh, geez.
Either for first or second place. I needed a horse to come second. Somebody would come flying out of the clouds there as if dropped in mid-stretch, 2 lengths in front by helicopter that was hovering over the stretch. All of a sudden, the horse comes from nowhere, splits you, and every now and then they'll focus in on the winner, and you lose sight of who's like running second and third. And so you're just sitting there praying, going, oh! As, you get nosed at the wire. But had a brutal weekend, so that's one of the other reasons that we're working today. We have to think of more ways to make money here on the show. All right, many things happening. How are you, Mike Lubitz? Mike Lubitz, I'm Jeff Deforrest. It's the Defo Show. We're on Ion Channel on his President's Day. We have made up, some compensation there of sorts for the fact that we won't have John with us today, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Scheduled to be joined by Grant Long, sometimes skeptical. Grant's on 1-hour time differential. He spends most of his time in Michigan. Yes. Grant Long, of course, one of the original members of the Miami Heat. Great basketball analyst, and always a lot of fun to have on the show. Just genuinely enjoy having Grant Long on the program. I don't know. I think we have had him on the Ion Channel show since we started this thing about 4 months ago, which it might be 4 months to the day, Lubie, that we started. It's pretty close, but nonetheless, Grant's going to join us. He's scheduled to join us right around 7:40 this morning, and then later on we'll talk some football with O.J. McDuffie and talk about some of the things that happen. A little postscript on the NFL, some interesting developments already. Agents supposedly are ready to stage some kind of a boycott for their clients, and we'll have to get into this with Brett Tester tomorrow when he's with us on the show. But and I don't know that he's part of this movement, but agents that represent like the top 150 players in the league want to stage a boycott of the combine because they don't like the whole bubble concept anymore. They're saying it's time to ease up the restrictions, and a lot of the country is doing the same thing. They want the NFL to capitulate and allow these players to have a little bit of freedom so they don't feel like they're going to some kind of a camp, for the, very restrictive behavior while they're in Indianapolis. And see, in Indianapolis, it really doesn't matter if you have a bubble, does it?
No, it's not any different. It's the same life.
There ain't shit to do. That's it. There's nothing going on there. I mean, Lubie and I saw that firsthand, and it was cold on top of that, Lubie.
Yep.
So not only were you in a city that was totally bereft of any kind of entertainment quotient and or, dining experiences, we ended up at White Castle like 3 nights in a row thinking this was the top place in town other than that place, what is it, St. Elmo's?
Yes.
It's named after the show with the St. Elmo. Yeah.
And you can't get, only a certain amount of people get in there. So, that's the problem with Elmo's. It's the only.
It's one of the ugliest indignities we've ever suffered, being aced out for a table by Jim Gray.
I love that. You still remember that.
I still remember Gray walking out of there with that little stupid smirk that he always has on his face, where, it seems like he's being cocky, but it also seems like a smirk that shows that he's very unsure of himself. Which I don't know. He must be a man of great confidence, right, Jim Gray? I mean, how did he comp all of these great jobs when nobody can stand him? It's pretty incredible. But, he's coming out of the St. Elmo's place, which, come on, man. I mean, you're known for a shrimp cocktail.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing.
Oh, yeah, you got to have the shrimp cocktail there. It's a shrimp fucking cocktail.
I mean,
come on.
Honestly. What do you mean? When a place has a shrimp cocktail, usually you don't get it because it's a shrimp cocktail. They must have something different.
Yeah, they put 4 shrimp in, that silly little stand that they put them on. They throw a little, sauce in the middle, and that's it. And they're charging you like a ridiculous price for 4 shrimp. Now, if you're going to the Circus in Las Vegas, where it used to be 99 cents, but I don't know. I know it's an oxymoron to talk about jumbo shrimp, but I mean, how small can a shrimp really be? I mean, you're talking about minuscule. You had to look under an electron microscope to see if there was any meat whatsoever that was attached to that head and tail with the Circus shrimp cocktail. I guess every now and then you'll go into a grocery store and you'll see like they put together some kind of Super Bowl package platter, and they have those, just absolutely minuscule shrimp, which I don't know. Are you
That's
expecting
worse.
shrimp to be small? No. You're
Not that.
expecting them to be big, which is kind of the weird thing about the whole concept of being a shrimp, right? Some guy says to you, "Hey, Lubie, you're a shrimp." You're thinking he's
Yeah, well,
being,
that's-
degrading about, the fact that maybe you're vertically challenged. As a kid, you've grown into a full blown, and very handsome young man. All right. So anyway, we're going to talk with Grant Long later on about baskets. Baskets was very much in focus as the All-Star break is on right now. So a lot of teams, there won't be any action till much later in the week, maybe Thursday or Friday. I think teams return to action.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of activity though, and a lot of interesting developments. And yet, I mean, there's a lot of discussion about this. How the whole skills thing has deteriorated, and the All-Star game also has broken down into just an absolute shambles of an exhibition. Now, I will say this, that there were some entertaining aspects to the All-Star game, as dreadful as it was. And the other thing was we had recommended saying that it was an annuity that you bet the over in the All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game, every year. Just go ahead and go over. And we looked at the number this year, and you thought, this could be the year the over players get crushed like a grape. Right, and you're looking at the casino. They have an aerial shot of one of the local sports books or sports book in Las Vegas. We don't have local sports books. We're busy passing abortion restriction laws, and we can't get gambling on the ticket, huh? Can you see there's a weird direction that this state goes in, the state of Florida, when it comes to legislative activity?
Duh. I put that in the open for.
Don't allow people freedom of choice. Don't let them do what they want to do.
Exactly.
Right? Don't give them control over their own bodies, women. And at the same time, make sure that nobody. I wish they had tighter gambling restrictions on me this weekend. Because, but you can't cry when you lose, Lubie. I mean, you're not going to win all the time. You know that. I mean, the key there is to limit your losses when you're on a bad run and maximize your gains when you're on a good run, which sort of defies one of our basic theories, which is to hedge or not to hedge.
That is.
And so if you're going to maximize your opportunities there, although that's just smart, as you heard with Mark Lawrence on the Super Bowl, right? He's getting 12-1 on the Rams. Why not bet a few bucks on the Bengals? And then he ends up cashing both bets.
Yep.
It's, that's smart gambling. Unfortunately, I have not been really driven
by that
in that direction my entire life. Just careless, reckless. The whole idea of gambling responsibly, especially when losing, right out the window. And then, of course, you hold back. Like I had $20 left from a rather significant bankroll. I don't care to mention how much it was exactly, for fear that the Mustang will get wind of this and go, "You did what?" And of course, last bet, I make a mind bet. I look at a horse on the track. He looks to be just absolutely fantastic. And I'm thinking, just go ahead, throw your last $20 on a 1-2 exact. I don't do it. It comes in 1-2, pays $72. I would have got back $720 and ended up a big winner for the day. Would have been nice. But, of course, you don't do that when things are happening in a negative fashion. So, I think I'm off the circuit for a while until I say that, but I know I'll be out there pounding away on my regular Friday session. But, we booked a trip already for the March Madness, the opening weekend of March Madness. Didn't book the airfares yet. They're a little bit prohibitive right now. Are they not going down anytime soon? Now, it's also St. Patty's Day. Is that a big day to travel? St. Patty's Day? I would think not. Don't people stay home on St. Patty's night? They don't stay home, but they stay in their hometown.
I mean, you're not traveling.
And party at a bunch of bars. You don't necessarily plan a trip out of town for St. Patty's Day, do you?
No. I mean, it's not a big travel weekend from what I know.
So St. Patty's Day must be, is it March 17th, Thursday, March 17th? Because that's the opening day of the NCAA basketball tournament, which the NCAA basketball circuit was very much in the news with this Juwan Howard thing also, and we'll get into that with Grant Long. I would imagine Grant, no, he played, I would think his career was his career over before Juwan Howard got into the league? Is that possible?
Not in the league before he got to Michigan. They didn't cross.
Oh,
over.
yeah. I mean, he only has been in Michigan. This is his third year there, I believe. Third year at Michigan. He did well the first year. He took him to the Elite Eight second year. And this year it hasn't gone so well for Michigan. And he's getting a little testy where, you start to get grumpy. And this is not the first time in the handshake line that Juwan Howard has started some brawl or mess or melee by getting into it with one of the opposing coaches, which in this case he actually like swung at the guy, right? Kind of hit him with an open hand on the back of the head, didn't do any harm, but then that sparked a brawl, and not exactly the kind of thing when you're trying to sell the NCAA as being all about developing young men through athletics to be better people. Not exactly the kind of example that you want to set, right, Urban Meyer? I want to like Juwan Howard, but and I respect the fact that he actually had success as a coach with a big program there in Michigan. And even though this year isn't going so hotsy-totsy, I don't know that anybody was ready to condemn him and say, well, geez, he can't coach anymore. Not exactly sure what all of the parameters were of the slight demise of the Michigan Wolverines, who sit on the bubble, but people are calling for his head at this point in terms of at least the suspension through the end of the season.
As a coach, especially of college, you can't. Like when they were yelling at each other, I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, what are people bitching about? And then he threw a punch. Like you can't throw a punch as a head coach in the middle of
right and spark a brawl. I mean, Insurrection City here, right? Holy Donald Trump, you're thinking.
No, you can't.
But yeah, and then he had no regrets about doing it at all. There was no apology coming from Juwan Howard after the game. He said, "You know what? This guy's an asshole, and he deserved it."
Okay, well, there's other ways.
Essentially, is what he said. Now the issue was this, and it was kind of stupid, and it gets into this whole thing about. See, I'm not a fan about being overly concerned about rubbing it in. And the unwritten rules of baseball and all of that stuff, where you're up 7-1, so you don't steal a base in the sixth inning. That's a bunch of crap.
Who cares?
Now, I don't know that you want to run up the score like Jimmy did on Notre Dame and Jerry Faust that time, where Eric Parsegian was puking in the booth and he was throwing bombs with 3 minutes to go, even though he had a 45-point lead. Maybe that's a little bit excessive, and you are seriously taking a puppy's face and rubbing it right in the schmutz that he left on the floor. In this case, though, I mean, Juwan Howard brought it on himself, did he not? He's down 15 to Wisconsin in a big ball game. Obviously, a game of some significance since he's sitting on this NCAA tournament bubble. They're down 15. There's 15 seconds to go, Lubie, and he's putting on full court pressure.
Ah.
So, I mean, if you want the other team to concede that the game is over by not calling a timeout, then why are you pressing full court with 15 seconds to go? So the coach and what's his name? Gard? Greg Gard. Yeah, Greg Gard is the coach of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And he's not the one that Juwan Howard. He kind of got into a little thing with Gard. And then there was an assistant coach whose name is Krabenhoft. Joe Krabenhoft. Not exactly a household name in terms of basketball coaches. It's not like you're going to forget about Norm Sloan, but or even Jerry Sloan for that matter. But anyway, so why is this guy pressing with 15 seconds to go if the game is, to be conceded by the other team? He brought it on himself, did he not, Lubie? I mean, would you not say that that's a little bit mashugana?
Just let it go.
Is that the right word? Yeah.
Mashugana is very much the right word. It's insane. Like, just let it go, Juwan. Like that's stupid and that's weird.
Well, why would you have a full court press on? The guy's got, I think he had his subs in the ballgame also. He had like second teamers in the ballgame for Wisconsin. So, the game was over, right? You don't put full court pressure on in that spot and go for a steal. What is he going to do? Get 7 steals in the last 15 seconds and convert all the baskets? Get back into the game? No, you let him dribble it up the court. I think it's 10. Is it 10 or 8 seconds in college basketball to get to the midcourt stripe?
Probably it's 10. I know. NBA,
I think it's 10. The NBA went to 8, which they never count, right?
No, yeah, and it is never 8, but the college I think is still 10.
Imagine calling that in a crucial situation in the NBA Finals on like LeBron James. Oh, that's it. 8 seconds.
Remember they called it on Giannis, or no, that was at the free throw line. Yeah, they don't ever call. I'm trying to. It's rare that they call And guys will get real close to it. Like guys will futz around, and it's rare they call 8 seconds.
Well, and the 5 seconds to get the ball in bounds. I mean, that's the most abused
Never called ever.
piece of time that you've ever seen, where the guys looking, and guys are darting all over the place, and you're going 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. I mean, it's kind of like there was a gentleman posted on my Facebook page, which I respect, and he had the shot of Muhammad Ali standing over a knocked out Sonny Liston, first round, Lewiston, Maine, in a rematch. And, there's that famous picture. A lot of people have it, right? Of Ali standing over Liston defiantly, looking down at Sonny. Now, what people forget is that Sonny Liston in that fight, after this phantom punch, which Angelo Dundee went to his grave, Lubie, to his grave, insisting that this was some lightning quick right hand.
You can see
just
it in
happened to
video.
clip. Yeah, I mean, you could say it was worse, that punch, than the one that James Caan threw in that Godfather scene, that somehow Francis Ford Coppola, brilliant director, Oscar-winning director, won every prize that there was in filmmaking, and rightfully so. I mean, I thought Apocalypse Now was a stroke of genius, right? But Colonel Kurtz, the horror, which is what I experienced yesterday. But, I mean, Khan misses this guy. I mean, he's beating the crap. He's kicking the snot out of the guy that was with Talia Shire. Though I think I called Shalia Tire the other day in a broadcast that I was doing with Mike Talia Shire. That's bad when they start juxtaposing just completely. Never mind forgetting everything. We better cash in quickly on this thing, right? DraftKings is buying everything. We want to send a direct message to DraftKings.
Exactly.
If you want us, we're yours.
Here.
Mike Golick is now like a spokesman for DraftKings.
Really?
Mike Golick. I
Yeah,
mean, could he be any more down the middle? Good guy, real good guy. I got to know him just a little bit
Not a gambling.
a while back, but gambling? Come on.
No, he's not gambling.
He's on there with Greenberg, I mean, that was all they talked about is how Greenberg couldn't pick his nose.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Don't make any comments about the nose, Louis. You can only get in trouble for that, right?
I'm Jewish.
Look what happened with Josh Rosen, right? That was a big controversy. But nonetheless, I mean, he missed him by a mile. Ali missed Liston by a mile. And Angela would always tell me, and I was very fortunate. I mean, one of the things that makes life great, I believe, is getting to meet great people. And, in this case, Angelo Dundee was like an idol of mine because I was a huge boxing fan as a kid. And he was already established as one of the great trainers even before he got to Muhammad Ali. I think he had like 7 or 8 world champions other than Ali, many of whom are like all Hall of Fame caliber guys. And, to actually sit down and have this guy talking to you just like you were, talking over a cup of coffee was fantastic. And he would insist that Ali hit him with a shot there. And you could take the Zapruder film approach and not find anything that was going to knock out a guy the size of Sonny Liston. So Liston, and, I guess, this is easily documented if, you look back and Jersey Joe Walcott, a washed-up Jersey Joe Walcott, was the referee in that fight. And remember, they had all kinds of, I don't know if you remember the story, but, I mean, it was all kinds of turmoil about whether or not they could have it, and they ended up in this, shithole of a town, Lewiston, Maine, which, how many world title fights have been held there? 1. And it was like through some fugazi system, they were able to get the state athletic commission, I would imagine, with a fistful of cash also to approve having the bout there. So they have the bout in the middle of nowhere. Jersey Joe Walcott's the referee, and the count is up to seems like 14. And Liston is fine. I mean, he's on the canvas there, and he actually looks over at Joe, the referee, Joe Walcott, and, he kind of looks up at him. And Walcott kind of gives him the, no, stay down, Sonny. Stay down.
So they all were in on it. Everyone was in on it.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't think that Sonny Liston, if you go back and read the story, might have had some control influences from certain families of ill repute. I would think so. He died in a very mysterious and still unsolved fashion from an overdose of drugs when the guy, it was well known that Sonny Liston had he was one of those guys that was tortured by the concept of being injected. I have a couple of friends like that, right? The sight of a needle and they pass out.
Yep.
Pass out. I mean, and these are like men's men. It's really weird. I don't know. Is that some kind of phobia?
That's the thing. There are a lot of people. It's one that's weird to me as someone who's scared of a lot of things. I never understand the needle never hurts. So
Yeah.
like, it's the idea of the needle because once they do it, it takes 2 seconds and it's never painful. So I never. That's a weird to me. That's one of those fears that's weird. But a lot of guys will have that fear of like the needles, and it's like, what did they do to you with this
One of
needle?
the most feared men on the planet, the heavyweight champion of the world, the great Sonny Liston, ex-con, was knocking out people just in the stare down. And they had a dreadful fear of needles, and just he would have passed out at the thought of it. So it's hard to imagine he was injecting himself with an overdose of heroin when the last thing on earth he wanted to do was go ahead and break out a syringe. Right,
Exactly.
so very weird, and that happened not that long after whatever took place in Lewiston, Maine, which maybe Sonny was about to spill the beans.
Probably. That's what it feels like.
I don't know, but. But a long count is what you get there. And it's about the same amount of time that you get to pass the ball in bounds in NBA
Yes.
basketball, is it
Yes.
not?
Yes.
7,
Yeah.
8, 9, 10. And then the guy calls a timeout. And one coach is screaming like in puppet-like fashion, "What, are you kidding me?" But, this whole business about, and we've talked about it many, many times. You're losing 55-0. And the coach after the game is going to start whining about, well, you know what, they really, that's bullshit what they did, running up the score like that. I mean, the other side of it is, why don't you do something to stop them, huh?
Exactly. That's always my take.
Especially, you're a pro team, or essentially, if you're a college team. I mean, if it's, say Notre Dame versus Liberty, okay, maybe the Fighting Irish could let up. But how many teams did they crush like a grape?
Yep.
And I mean, that was the funny thing. I mean, the hypocrisy of Ara Parsegian to be screaming about Jimmy Johnson burying Jerry Faust in that ball game at the Orange Bowl. And, of course, Musburger was loving it because Notre Dame didn't score anything in that game, and they probably had the over.
He did.
He's like, yeah, way to go, Jimmy, another bomb. Oh, we're coming here from the best seat in the house. Yeah, and that would be a winning seat because Jimmy kept pouring points on the board there against Notre Dame that day. Did we ask him about that? When we were talking on, we'll have to bring that
You
game up.
wanted to, but I don't think you did. We'll have to do it
Yeah.
the next time. We focus on the Dolphins a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, stop them then. Well, what are you going to do? Guess what? If you're really bad and they expose that, then go back to work, get better next week. But to sit there and whine about, oh, they ran up the score. I mean, it's the prerogative of the team that has the big advantage. No, I mean,
I've never been a huge fan of the running up of the score when it's kids because it's like when the game's done.
I'm not a fan of it either. You want to win or lose with dignity, but
Right.
if you don't, I mean, if that's not the way that you roll, then okay, you can't cry about it if you're the losing team.
I've never understood out loud bitching about it. That's worse. Now you look like a jerk off. It's like, look, your team couldn't stop them. Yeah, it sucks that they ran it up. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Come on, like to start a fight over it? Nah,
Can't start a fight over it. And then if you're gonna say that the game is a concession already, 15 points up, 15 seconds ago. I don't know. Has anybody ever come back from a margin like that? You had that Reggie Miller game where he scored like 18 points in 3 seconds against the Knicks.
It was 8 in like 6 seconds, or 6 in like 8 seconds. And you had the T-Mac game where they were down. It was like 30 seconds, and they were down by like 12.
Yeah,
things like that have happened. 15 seconds, 15 points. That's not happening. The game's over.
No,
we all know the game's over. Just let them dribble it out, shake hands, pound, call it. Like you're running full. Okay, if you start running full, then I, as a coach, am gonna go. You want to run full? Okay. Screw you.
Well, and why should they just turn the ball over and play into your hands?
Exactly.
And give you a chance, whatever remote chance. I mean, is anything impossible? It seems like there's always a first time for something. 3-point shot. Could they hit 5 threes in 15 seconds if they stole the ball?
Possibly. I'm telling
Very
you,
unlikely. So what are you doing pressing? I mean, why are you putting on full court pressure at that?
You're going to run full court press. I'm going to start trying again. I'm telling you that right now. Like,
yeah. Well, he wasn't even trying. He just called a timeout so he could get the ball at midcourt, in which way he wouldn't have to face the press. He just lobs it in there and eats up to 15 seconds. If his guy catches the ball, if you're Juwan Howard, you would instruct the Wolverines to just lay off the guy and let the time run out. Exactly. And, maybe even make a phantom move in the handshake line. Imagine, I mean, here these hockey players. Think about this, Juwan Howard. It's our personal message.
I know he's listening.
No, but I mean, you watch two teams. You watch, the Bruins and the Maple Leafs in like a 7-game bloodbath, right? I mean, where there have been fights in every game, right down to the wire. They're hitting each other over the head with sticks. And one of the great scenes in all of sport is when they have the handshake line after this bloodbath of a series, and you can see the sincerity on these toothless faces that they greatly respect the battle that the other team put up. I mean, it's really, does it not hit at the very epitome? And even the worst offenders, right? The guys that were in the penalty box the entire series, guys that were committing atrocities, guys that the people were speculating, hey, maybe they should be brought up on regular criminal charges for what they did. And even they're smiling and congratulating the goaltender, putting their hand behind his head. Same thing in a boxing match, right? Two guys been cursing at each other, saying they were going to kill each other's families in the build-up to the fight. They get in there, 12-round war. I mean, just exchanges in every round. Almost every second is occupied with action. Both guys come out of there looking like they both lost, even though they're both declaring victory. And what do? They hug each other for like 5 minutes after the fight.
That's the craziest thing to me in sports. When you watch the Tom Brady's walk off like assholes, or LeBron when they lose. Hockey, they will kill each other, and they'll be bitching and moaning and fighting. And at the end of the series, they literally bloody, their eyes fucked up, they're missing teeth, and they'll hug each other like as though they're family, which is weird. A boxing match, they will go toe to toe, talk all this shit.
A war,
like literally kill each other. The one guy's passed out, and then when it's over, they will go to the middle of hug and like put the arm around each other and raise the fist. It's like, the hell?
One guy grabs the other guy's daughter and is holding her up with the belt. I mean,
it's crazy to me.
Right. I mean, there shouldn't be these hostilities. It's a game.
Exactly. Especially with college. I don't know. The college kid thing to me is a lot. Like, you're a head coach of a college team.
But if you provoke the maneuver, in other words, how could you not expect this guy Guard to go ahead and do exactly what he did if he's going to put on a full court press with 15 seconds to go against his scrubs? Guys, he cleared the bench from what I could decipher. And, so it wasn't like he was doing anything to embarrass Juwan Howard. And then Juwan Howard goes out and embarrasses himself, which is a shame because you want to like the fact that he's I like when players get a job like that, or somebody gets a job like that where everybody goes, what? He never coached before. What the hell? He's got the Michigan job. And they succeed. It's kind of nice to see, is it not?
Yes. I like Howard. He was with the Heat. He did a good job with the Heat. And anytime I've come across him or talked with someone, they always speak highly of him. So he's just a competitive guy, and I get it. But you can't have that's why that was my problem with Spurrier. Spurrier was the king of running the score up. Okay, fine. But he hated Bobby Bowden. It's like, dude, no one hates Bobby Bowden. Because Bobby Bowden would do the crap to him. And it's like, if you can't take it, don't give it.
Yeah.
Like, that's why Jimmy did that to Notre Dame. Notre Dame was notorious for being
they bludgeon people.
Petty assholes. So then you do it back to them. Oh, that's ridiculous. No, it's ridiculous.
But that was Parsegian, man. I mean, I wish I had a tape of that game. Well, we should go back and see if we could find something where they have the clips of Parsegian going absolutely bananas about what an asshole Jimmy Johnson was for running up the score. And poor Jerry Faust, the guy who had just happened to feed Notre Dame like 8 million players out of Cincinnati Moeller. And in a very improbable fashion that just reeked of reward and benefit. He became the Notre Dame head coach with zero college experience at any, different position. It wasn't like he was an assistant or anything or a head coach somewhere, some small school, like he came out of Temple and they said, okay, give him the job. He was a high school coach, and he had fed them so many of these, bulky, guys that could qualify academically somehow and play offensive line for Notre Dame, that they made him the head coach. And maybe Jimmy took that personally, right? Like you see some hack in this business, although we might qualify.
Am I allowed to call someone else a hack? I feel like
considering that this might not be us, okay, and that we could easily fall into the category, and you see some hack in this business that's making it, and you're just a fan, right? And a lot of people that listen to Sports Talk thought, hey, wow, I might have wanted to do that, right? What always used to amaze me is I would meet any number of people that were vastly more successful than I could ever have hoped to have been.
They were jealous.
Yeah, they would say, you know what, Deforrest, I wish I could come back and do what you did. Which
I have friends that do that all the time. They're like, man, it must be the life. I'm like, what?
Oh,
I'm like,
I would have to say,
"Ew,
as I'm
what would I
approaching,
do?"
as I'm on borrowed time here in many regards, I would have to say it's been a pleasure. I mean,
Amazing.
I couldn't possibly have any complaints. I mean, I could have, been more successful or whatever, reached higher levels, but I did all right, right?
Oh, no,
Did,
you've done
did
well.
a lot of the things that I wanted to do in my lifetime: call
And I
games,
wouldn't
call
do anything
fights.
else either. It's just funny. Like, you'll see people who, like, there's like a judge. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
aren't you like that? I'm not where I want to be. You're at the top of your profession. You're like, wow, what you do so amazing. Okay. Sure.
Well, it's a lot more fun than working. That's why we're working a holiday. That's for sure. All right, I'll tell you what's more fun than working. They're probably having a blast there today, and they open up the doors at 9 o'clock. That's Hialeah Park. And now I might have gotten crushed like a grape, but every day's a new day when you're a sick degenerate.
Exactly.
And you're thinking, what if today's my day? Big Rich kept telling me yesterday, well, the next race could be the one. You only need one. Now, unfortunately, if you run out of bank before you get to that next race,
On you.
wow, you talk about the clubbing of seals. But anyway, I managed to flat iron like a lot of my bankroll. Several sticks went up in smoke yesterday, but I don't care. I mean, and there's going to be racing around the country, so champions will be cranking today at Hialeah Park. That'll be a good place to be.
Nice.
Nice place to be, and it's very relaxing too. I mean, Lubie, I really dig this, and at Hialeah Park, it's set up perfectly to do this. I like sitting at the bar in a comfortable chair, just sipping a few with the racing form there. You can trust the people. Like, you can leave your phone and your keys and whatever right up there, and even if you walk away for a while, it's still going to be there when you come back. I mean, that kind of vibe that they have going at the Champion Simulcasting Room, and you're not getting clobbered like you buy drinks, a couple of rounds for people, and then you get a check, and it's like minuscule, and you're thinking, really, Joe? Did you include everything? You sure you got everything? And it's just a great time, and then you have great food and drink. Which not every parimutuel facility makes it easy to get great food and drink, which they do at Hialeah Park. And so today, if you were thinking about punching on the races, Champion Simulcasting Room would be my top recommendation right there. Then, of course, if you're a poker player, people like to kind of languish around on the holidays, Lubie. Maybe shoot the breeze with their friends, watch whatever games are on TV. I don't know what's going today. What college basketball? I would imagine would have a big slate today on President's Day. Is that possible, or does everybody take the day off but us? I'm not sure. I have to look at my slate. I have it right here in front of me, but it's probably. I think the schedule is going to be dotted with a lot of college basketball, and it's time to start paying attention, right, Louie?
Yes, this is when actually we should. It's middle of February.
I saw that Joe Lunardi surfaced last night, the bracketology guy. And he's pretty good, though, isn't he? Do you like that guy, Joe Lunardi, or do you think he's full of crap? What do you think?
Well, I think it gets the field right. I just like how accurate wear and seating is usually way off.
You think he's way off? Okay. I
Well,
don't know why.
where he puts people in the seating is always like.
Is that because the seating is fair, or because what he's saying is probably closer to the empirical truth that it should be?
Maybe
and
he's
the committee just gives certain favors to Krzyzewski and a couple.
That I don't know. That's the other thing is I don't know if he's right and they're wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, because Coach K could lose 11 games in a row towards the end of the season and still be a. Well, you know what? They were the fourth number one seed, Duke. Yes, here's the unveiling. And you're watching Jim Nantz in horror, speaking of Colonel Kurtz, and saying, really? They got a number one seed? Are you kidding me? And they're going to be playing like Coastal Carolina in their first game? And if they win that, then they go against like Belmont? Come on, Coach K. All right, we're coming back with more. Grant Long, speaking of baskets, All-Star game went over. It was 163 to 160. So
it did go over, but it's annoying because it should have been an easy over. And the way they set the stupid ass ceiling, it's like, okay, so what if it's a blowout? Like, so now you have no shot at an over. What so it should be?
I mean, I'm sure that their concern is not necessarily with the bettors, even though they're all encouraging everybody to bet their brains out on virtually everything. I wouldn't have gotten the 3-point shootout, right? Karl Anthony Towns, I didn't see him winning that. He can shoot the three. We know that. Usually a top of the key guy, right? Karl Anthony Towns.
Yes, he's a big man who can have some range, but he's not like Dirk.
You wouldn't figure that he'd be able to just fire like what did he shoot? 25 balls, more than that. I mean, how many shots are they taking in that? They got 1, 2, 3, 5 stations, What do you take? 5 shots at each one? 25 shots.
I think
You wouldn't figure he could fire off 25 threes that rapidly, right? He ended up
No.
setting some kind of a 3-point shootout record.
Jesus.
Although they've messed with the scoring, haven't they? Where like all the balls in the last rack are worth 2?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a bit of an anomaly or whatever that is. But anyway, Asterisk City on that. But yeah, that was and the dunk was a disaster. I just thought
a bunch of names like Obi Toppin's the one people have heard of. It's only because he's on the Knicks.
Yeah,
he's a guy that sucks. Was a massive bust, and he's not even that athletic. Like it was all like backups and also rans and people you've never heard.
They only
of.
had 4 guys in there too. I mean, it wasn't like
thing,
Neek was leading a field of 10.
I don't know. I think it's time for them to get rid of that weekend. I don't know what they do with it, but
they make a lot of money, I think.
I know, but it's
yeah. And they get a lot of television exposure. All right, we're coming back. Grant Long going to join us, talking some buckets. Hialeah Park, they're open till 3 a.m. on the weekdays, 5 a.m. on the weekends. Great place to go. Tremendous. And if you're looking for entertainment today, President's Day, why not hang out with the good people at Hialeah Park and try and make some money, make it a profitable holiday? All right, coming back with Grant Long, we hope, in just a moment here on the Defo Show on this President's Day. John Kajemi going to join us tomorrow. We will talk to O.J. McDuffie, get some football in, a lot of developments, including Brian Flores getting a job. I thought that was pretty cool on the part of Mike Tomlin. I like that move.
I just hope he keeps the fight because a lot of people have said, well, once he gets a job, he's going to stop.
It looked good the way he did it. I mean, I think Tomlin salvaged his pro coaching career because he stayed in the game. Yeah,
I want him to keep the fight going just to prove those people wrong. Like, I'd love to see.
There's no way he wins this case. I don't think so.
I don't think he's going to win it, but I want him to keep going. I don't want him to.
They may settle it to just to get it out of the courts, but I don't know how he could possibly prove his position about the racism, even though it's obvious that maybe it's not driven by any kind of inherent racism or bias, but it just happens to be the fact that what the NFL has attempted to do to bring about this kind of equality and diversity hasn't worked. All right, back with more in a moment on the Defo Show. Grant Long going to join us here. He's always a lot of fun. O.J. McDuffie later on. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. Google the Defo Show, DEFO. You can find us. Have people coming up to me all the time. Lubie, what are you doing? What's going on? Yep. How can I find it? Now, I'm not well-versed in giving out the link for the audio, which I think we should feature up here on the screen whenever we can also, because a lot of people like this on the radio, and they think, hey, can I plug this into my car? And you can, so...
Yeah, defoandlubie.com/live.
Okay.
Yeah, I've made it a lot simpler.
Defoandlubie.com. I have to get some cards printed up or something. Yeah, because we're missing out on a lot of followers just because, people find this technology a little bit more complicated than it actually is. It's actually easier in many ways than a lot of the other forms of communication that are out there that are very successful. All right. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:43. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
Well, this guy's been a big part of it, and we love talking to Grant Long about anything, especially in your days in college. And you were really, one of those guys that was dedicated and had a great work ethic, Grant Long. But in your days in college, and I don't know if there was any hardline curfew in the pros, I would imagine not, but maybe an implied one. Did you ever devise any kind of elaborate scheme, sneak out a back window from the second-story hotel on some kind of rope ladder or to dodge the curfew and get out and party a little bit?
I'm going to tell you something for the first time. This is an exclusive for you guys right now.
All right, great.
It didn't happen in the pros, but I learned my lesson in college because I did exactly that. I snuck out, and the very next day in the game was the first time ever in my basketball career that I was held to 0 points.
Oh,
wow,
my
really?
God, a goose egg? Not even a free throw? You couldn't.
I was a walking zombie the entire 40 minutes of that game. My coaches look at. Listen, this is my senior year. I'm averaging 24 points that year, and I get a goose egg. I get nothing, and I learned my lesson that day.
Where'd you end up going? Can you say, or is that not disclosable?
I'll just say that the girls' basketball team traveled with us.
That's why we love you. Always candid. The great Grant Long.
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
Always good to get to know the real story behind somebody and, their formative years and how they influenced them later on. Welcome back to the show. The Defo Show here on ION Channel and streaming audio and video around the world. Jeff Deforrest along with one Mike Lubitz. It's a pleasure to welcome this gentleman to the program. He was part of the original Miami Heat team and their inaugural season. I enjoyed many games down there at the Miami Arena, even though I think they first lost 17 before they finally got on the winning side of things. He played with head coach Ronnie Rothstein, who, had come from Detroit, brilliant defensive mind, when Rothstein had a full head of hair. And, years later, that is no longer the case. And I think it all went that first year with the Miami Heat, but distinguished himself with a long NBA career, including some playoff appearances with the Heat. The great Grant Long joins us here on the show. Grant, how are you, my friend?
I'm pretty good. Top of the morning to you.
Good to have you on the program. It really is. I don't know what did you consider token pressure back when you were playing maybe recreational basketball? I would imagine it was highly competitive because obviously you were somebody that was, going to end up in college and in the pros. And I would think, you always played hard. But did you ever play like one-on-one, like with a buddy, token pressure? I mean, what did you consider that? Just putting a hand in front of the guy's eyeballs from about 3 feet away?
I think token pressure would be at least within arm's reach.
Exactly.
Arm's reach, yeah, but you're not really swatting at the ball. You're kind of like feinting the jab there, and it's a little short, like maybe a couple of times in your brother's boxing career. But I mean, would you consider what happened in the All-Star game last night? Does that even come under the heading of token pressure?
That would be more like social distancing. That's what that would be.
That's the best description of that I've heard.
That
Yes, Grant Long. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, so what do you make of it? I mean, the players seem to love it. Like I like when top athletes, upper echelon athletes, seem to be really enjoying themselves, and it's not just because they're counting money or talking about their accomplishments, but they seem to really be enjoying. It's like watching musicians who love playing together. I mean, what is a player? How do you perceive the All-Star game? A lot of people, say, hey, it should be scrapped because it's a joke. But what do you think, Grant Long?
Yeah, and I've heard those same sentiments guys about scrapped or something in place of it. I don't know. I actually like the format where they get to that certain number. I like each quarter.
Kind of have a weak connection there, Lubie. You might want to, redial Grant Long here. But we definitely want to hear what he has to say. It happens from time to time, right? Cell phone crap out is one of the unfortunate aspects of the business here. But Grant, on a roll there. Social distancing is a good way to describe the way the defense is lined up there in the NBA All-Star game yesterday. And, I mean, still, all that being said, I really I found it entertaining what Steph Curry was doing. I mean, as a longtime chucker, nobody could conceive of taking shots from those distances and having them consistently go in. Now other guys were also shooting lights out from three-point range in the All-Star game, and that helped ease the pain of those that might have been thinking, hey, geez, how many points do I need per quarter to hit 320? You need 80 points per quarter to hit 320. So to eclipse the over in that ball game, and I didn't realize that when I was recommending that bet to people, that you go out and plunge on the over. that they had I forgot about this format where they actually end up capping the scoring. And so, that could be like a real haymaker to the face there if you're cruising along at a pace where it looks like it's easily going to be eclipsed. And then all of a sudden, they just put an end to the game. All right. I think we've relocated Grant Long. Is that correct, Mike Lubitz? Grant Long back with us here on the show?
1 second.
Okay. We almost have Grant Long back with us. But unfortunately, we were getting a verbal ransom note on the other end of the phone line. And
Give it a try here.
just it just really wasn't working out. All right, are we set to go? Very good. Grant Long, are you back with us? And hopefully with a little more clarity. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I put the cup and string down. I actually picked up the phone.
Oh, this is fantastic. I mean, it's all of a sudden everybody can understand it, and and you hit it right on the head, the social distancing thing. But you were saying, and you started talking about the players and the way they perceive the game. Because I get a kick out of seeing these guys all high-fiving each other, and there's like Fat Joe throwing a high five in there, and any number of Spike Lee's jumping up and down when something spectacular happens in one of these exhibitions.
Yeah, and you know what? I think my perspective might be shared with a lot of other people. I think the players and I like the fact the new format of getting to a certain number. I think the number was 163 last night. To get to that number, you give them something to shoot for. So the game is just not going on and on. I also like the quarters that they win. There's a certain amount of money that's donated to a certain charity. So it gives them something, an incentive to play. Even though they're not going all out, it still gives them an incentive to play. And here's the biggest thing. You also have to understand, especially now where you have a captain of the team and they get to pick, where some guys from the West are actually playing on the East side and this kind of stuff like that. These guys are not trying to get hurt either because they've got to go back to their respective teams, the next day after this All-Star game is over with. So you're not trying to get hurt. I can remember when Tim Duncan was playing, he would actually say, let's tell the coach, even though I'm a starter, you don't have to play me. Really don't have to play me in this game.
Yeah.
Don't feel pressure to play me in this game. I don't want to get hurt. I want to get back to my team and get ready for the second half of the season and shoot for that championship. So I understand guys are trying not to get hurt and that whole thing. So it does look bad, the competition side of it, because they're not really playing until that final. Even when it was really close, they weren't really trying to play lockdown defense. It was just a matter of, hey, who was going to make a shot? LeBron took a very difficult shot. He made that one. Steph Curry, I mean, in a way, he played just like he normally plays. He makes shots. It's what he normally does. Whether there's defense on him or not, he makes those shots.
Well, I don't know. I mean, let's face it, Grant. If you took shots from those distances in your days playing, in the parks in Detroit, you would have got the snot beat out of you even if you made them. I mean, come on, those were like 50-footers. It was crazy.
Yeah, you're not expecting any defense to be out that far, right?
You have to be insane to even chuck the ball up there from that distance. And they're all going in. They're all like swisheroos. He had a run there of like 3 incredible 3-pointers that he made in succession. And then he started doing that little dance when he hit that one out of the corner, which was like a layup for him at that point. But even unguarded, I mean, that was Pete Maravich-esque, I mean, that exhibition of long-range shooting.
Yeah, he's the only guy that gets the pass on that. Nobody else. Yeah. I don't, even though Anthony Towns won the 3-point shot contest, I don't want to see him out there chucking those away.
No.
Steph Curry's the only guy that gets the pass.
And they were moonballs, too. It was shades of Tim Hardaway, when he was with the Heat, where the arena roof wasn't all that high in the old Miami Arena, Grant. You probably remember this, and you probably feared that it might collapse at any time. But even though it was a new building. But and they would scrape the roof. Now, Tim shot a knuckleball. I mean, with Steph Curry, you're literally looking at one of those things that if you were going to make a tape of fundamentals in terms of rotation and trajectory, I mean, how does he do it? He ended up hitting 16 threes in a game. It was amazing.
He's the master of it. I said a long time ago, and I got to give Mark Jackson, his former head coach, the credit. He said Steph Curry is the best 3-point shooter the league has ever seen. Not necessarily three. He's the best shooter the league has ever seen. Yeah. And I'll have to agree with him on it. I don't think I've ever seen. Now I've played against Larry, but he's a very good shooter. But I think Steph Curry, he holds that. He holds that distinction of being the best shooter the NBA has ever seen. Now, I will say this too, having said that, that Larry wasn't. It wasn't a 3-point shooting era. Larry was unique in that situation because he did take a lot. He took quite a few of them and made quite a few of them, but it wasn't like it is now where you almost, you turn down fast breaks to shoot 3-point shots. Larry and those guys weren't doing that. They were. It was a tool to, I don't know, maybe get you closer, or if you're down, you take a couple of threes, but you don't just cast them up just for decoration. It's like the 3-point shot now is like the home run was back when Mark McGuire and Lee Sosa and those guys were belting them out of the park, and the ball was wound pretty tight. It was juice just so it would take off, and people love baseball at that point. That's what the 3-point shot is right now. People love it because guys are making it. Well, boy, when they start to shank them off the side of the rim.
Yeah, there were more than the common share of bricks in that game. I mean, we talked about this before, and old school guys like me, all codgers, geezers at Caesars. We loved that New York Knicks team with the Busher and Clyde Frazier because they passed the ball, and the ball movement was just perfect symmetry. You had a little of that with more of a high wire act with Golden State a few years ago, where I mean, everything they did, it looked like a Lakers fast break. It was absolutely fantastic. But the over reliance on the three, I mean, there are games now that are just dreadful in terms of 3-point shooting percentage, and yet the two teams will combine to yank up like 90 of them in a ball game. I don't know. People keep saying, well, that's going to be the detriment of the game or whatever. But how do you see that? Is there an over reliance on 3-point shooting, to the fault of watching, what basketball was meant to be?
I think it is. I think it's becoming a detriment to it. But there's some guys in the lab, what they call the numbers guys, who say that, shooting 3-point shots, if you make enough of them, a small percentage of them, you give yourself the best chance of winning. So I think with all the numbers that they can process and take in, coaches and general managers and all that, they feel like that's the best way to go to try to win basketball games. It doesn't look the best, but I'll go back to what you said when the Golden State Warriors were, when they were passing that ball and getting it around at that time, they were the leading team in the NBA of passing the basketball. They made the most passes throughout a game than any other NBA team. And it looked good, and they were winning. But they have the best 3-point shooters on their team. So that of course it's going to look good. I've said this before, guys, that and I don't like saying it because it cheats those guys out of their career. When Klay Thompson and Steph Curry retire, it's going to set the bar so low now that it'll really look bad. It looks bad now, but it'll really look bad when those two stop shooting or when they retire, because nobody else can shoot like that. Where else do you go where 29% or 27% of something is good? Well, if you shoot 27% from the
baseball, that would be it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. 290.
Yeah, you could strike out the other 77% of the time, or whatever, 73% of the time, and it would still consider it good that you hit a home run. One out of however many plate appearances. All right, Grant Long with us here. Grant, of course, played with the Miami Heat. How many years was it total in the NBA? 9 or 10, or is it more than that?
Come on, Defo, 15.
15. Oh my God, 15 years. I mean, LeBron James type of numerology here, Grant, and you were in many different situations. It was interesting too because you were saying that players didn't want to go into the All-Star game to get injured, and now the defense is so lax that an injured player could go into the All-Star game and figure he can play and not get hurt any further. And that happened with Chris Paul yesterday. But I was curious now. We don't see as much Phoenix basketball as we probably should. I don't know. You're involved with the Detroit broadcast team, so I don't know how much Phoenix Suns basketball you've had a chance to see. But, I mean, we liked their team last year. We're big Devin Booker fans because, Lubie was insisting that Justice Winslow would turn out to be a better pro when they had a chance to draft this kid. He's a legitimate. Yeah, I mean, was that Stu Inman? Was he still alive making that decision? That was just an awful miss by Pat Riley of a Kentucky kid. But, I mean, the Suns, a lot of people weren't convinced that they were all that great last year. And now, the Warriors have come back. They pick up Wiseman as a number 2 pick in the draft, and then they get Klay Thompson back, and he looks like he's going to round into form. So how much does this impact that whole Western Conference race that Chris Paul is going to be out for probably the remainder of the regular season.
Yeah, it's really going to set them back. He's the guy that makes them, just puts everybody back in their place. Before he got there, yeah, they were a pretty decent team. They had Devin Booker. He could shoot the ball, make a lot of shots, score 40 points, 30 points, all of that. But it didn't really amount to wins. Now with Chris Paul there, he orchestrates everything. He makes sure that they get into plays. He's what they call a very, very high-level game manager. He's not going to let you lose most of the time. 9 times out of 10, if you're ahead in the ball game, he's at the helm, you're going to win that basketball game. That's how good he is at managing the game in every possession. So they're going to miss him in that regard, and it will give the other teams in the Western Conference a chance to get back in there. But I'll say this, and I said it at the very beginning, I don't know who's going to win the championship, but I know 2 teams that I feel won't be there. Now, number 1, the Lakers. Number 2, the Brooklyn Nets. Yep. Those 2 teams will not be there, even though they were the favorites at the beginning. And I never believed in those 2 teams making it to the final.
Talking about the one and only Grant Long here.
I think he's pretty safe there, though. Those 2 teams, they both look like
Well, he said that at the beginning of the year, though. He
catastrophic, pratfall mode. Yeah, go ahead, Louie.
Before the season started, and that's why I give him a lot of credit. People were putting them in the finals, and now long odds for either of them make the finals. Grant Long, Miami Heat, great now. Detroit Pistons analyst. Moving it out to the East, it's funny because people still want to focus on the Nets and the Sixers, especially after they traded stars. But it feels like Bulls, Heat, Bucks right now are your really best chance at a finals member from the Eastern Conference. What are your thoughts on the Eastern Conference, as it feels like there's possibly a changing of the guard?
You know what? And you got to keep saying that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be there, or at least contending for it again. They look very good right now. All of their pieces are whole. Their good pieces are whole. They're young still, and they've won it. They won it. They've got the MVP on their team. Why wouldn't you pick them once again? Then you think about the Bulls. What they're doing. They put together a roster over the offseason and brought DeMar DeRozan there, and Ball. The other ball kid, he's playing well. I like the fact that DeMar DeRozan is actually in the conversation for MVP of the league. I hope he gets it, because he's one of those guys who the best mid-range shooter in the NBA, probably doesn't rely heavily on three-point shots, if that any. And I like the way he plays. So I hope he does. There's talk that he's in the running, and I hope he gets it. And then you think about the Heat and what they're able to do. They've always been right there. They've been to the finals when it was in the bubble, obviously. So they're ramping up again. If they can keep their pieces whole, they've got what it takes. They've got great three-point shooters that take volume shots. They've got a guy who can close the game in Jimmy Butler, and they share the basketball. Yeah. That's the most important ingredient. They share the basketball. All 3 of those teams have a terrific opportunity to come out of the Eastern Conference.
Is Jimmy Butler ever happy when he's on the court? Well, he plays with a little bit of an attitude. That's for sure. But he just looks mad the whole time. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you would crack a smile every now and then, even if he'd just been hit in the groin by Larry Bird's elbow. As he got it, and then got called for a foul, so he went to the stripe as well.
Exactly.
But Butler, he definitely looks focused when he's out there. That's for sure, and that's very much the Riley mentality, is it not? Exactly. He loves this kid.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that, Defo. He very rarely smiles, and I like that. He's too young to be cantankerous, I think, but he's I like his focus. And if he's on your team, he's your teammate, you got one of the best, because he's going to push you. He's going to take no nonsense. He's going to back you up. And you got to love a teammate like that. I wouldn't say he's as bad as Lambeer, but Lambeer was one of those guys.
No, Lambeer.
You hated him from afar. You hated him from afar, but you loved him as he was on your team.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, and some of the guys on his team, I mean, we're right of the same mold, including Dennis Rodman. But when Lambeer body slammed, I mean, were you a fan of professional wrestling when he body slammed Larry Bird in that playoff series? And he put him in like an airplane spin first, and then like it was Bruno Sammartino. He just cracked him over his knee and dropped him to the ground. And there was no foul on that. I think they might have called something on Bird.
Exactly.
Those were the days, man. It was a whole different game. It was a far cry from what we saw yesterday. All right, now in your 15-year NBA career, your career overlapped the playing days of Juwan Howard. So I would imagine you have some familiarity, and he's a Michigan guy. So I would think that there's some familiarity there with Juwan Howard. What did you make of what happened yesterday? Because people are all speculating that this guy should be suspended the rest of the year, that this is way out of bounds. And then our question was, if you don't want a guy to make a move, like call a timeout to get the ball at midcourt, then don't full court press with 15 seconds to go against their scrub. So what did you think about all of that? Or have you had a chance to take a look at that story or the clip?
You know what? Everybody was calling me and asking me about it. I had not heard of it. I hadn't seen it yet. So I told them, let me get back to you after I take a look at it. And Juwan was definitely wrong. I mean, he's one of my good friends. I go to most of the games at Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Oh, all right.
He's definitely wrong. He was definitely wrong. And as you said, Defo, whether the coach called the timeout to get the ball over the timeline, that doesn't make a difference. As a coach and you're a leader of young boys at that time, you just don't do things like that. You have to keep your composure because all of those guys are watching you. And if you notice, once he got into the squad, all the players started to get out there, and you just can't do that because you're leading those young men. You have to set the example. And I understand people aren't perfect. You make mistakes. But what I noticed in the press conference was that Juwan didn't own his mistake.
No remorse.
He hid behind the back. Well, coach, somebody touched me and grabbed my arm, and I reacted. Well, that wasn't a nefarious touching of the arm. He didn't grab your arm and pull it out of the pocket. He touched you to hold you up. It didn't warrant that response that Juwan gave. And so, again, even in the press conference after the game, he didn't own it. And I think that's what you got to do first and foremost. Own it. Hey, I made a mistake in front of my players. I shouldn't have done that. Let's proceed with whatever punishment I'm going to get, and I'll accept that as a head coach of this team and as a man. I was out of line. But I didn't hear that contrition from him at the conference, which was to see the wrong thing to say, the wrong thing to do. That was the wrong approach. I wouldn't be surprised if he got the rest of the season off and maybe put in some when he's got to stay at home, no getting out on the recruiting trail.
Oh, wow.
If he would take some salary, and maybe, and this might be the last thing, anger management classes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we could use some of those. Just responding to calls on the show here. Grant Long with us. All right. One last thing. I mean, the statement from the Michigan athletic director was very emphatic that this is not something that they, take lightly. And, obviously, Juwan Howard is probably a very powerful influence there with the Michigan boosters. He's done a nice job. I mean, this year hasn't gone as well as he probably would have liked. I'm not sure. I mean, did they have injuries or whatever? Or what really compromised the Wolverines this year? And do you think that the athletic director will take this harsh action, as he kind of implied with the statement that he made to the press?
Oh, he'll have to. He will have to because, I mean, like I said, the wake of this, you got kids who are potentially looking at coming to the University of Michigan because of Juwan Howard. And it's not just kids. You got to also get their parents on board. So now your parents are saying, wow, look at this head coach that I'm sending my kid to. That's a big hit for the university when kids start saying, I'm not going there because of a head coach who is not responsible, who is not acting like he should. When you take away that and let's face it, Michigan is a football school, but basketball is not far behind it. You've got a high-profile guy like Juwan Howard who you're putting in your window saying, hey, this is our representative, and he's not doing a good job of. You definitely have to stand up and say. And remember, let me say this. Remember, they are also in the wake of this sexual scandal thing with one of their trainers or physicians at the University of Michigan. So they've got to get this right the first time. They've got to get it right.
Institution of higher learning, man. It's all about the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been something that has been proliferated forever by the NCAA, and then you see some of these things that happen. But I'm with you. I mean, a terrible example to set.
Yeah,
You hate to see it. I mean, your friends, personal friends with Juwan Howard, but we enjoyed whatever contact we had with him when he was
Yeah.
here with the Miami Heat. And I like to see people like that get a shot and have success. And
Yeah.
it seems a shame to kind of jeopardize that by doing some crazy things. Grant, always a pleasure, my friend. I'm glad you enjoyed the All-Star game. Enlightening as always. What's happening in this off season for your Detroit Pistons? Just real quickly.
The season's still going on.
Well, hopefully they'll be back in the high draft pick.
Yeah.
And the rebuild continues. That's pretty much what I can say. The rebuild continues. I think they'll have some off-season trades to try to get the team better than they were. Because I think even though we're a young team, they took a step back this year as far as growth. I thought they were, and I'm thinking, along with the president, general manager, thinking that they would be a lot better this year than they were last year. And they're not. So they're going to maybe add some pieces on the offseason. They've got 2 young guys at the helm. Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham. So we'll see what happens. But I think they got to make some moves if they're going to improve and for the next season coming up.
There's Cade Cunningham. He started out shooting like Lubie. Did he straighten it out? I mean, he made the Young Stars All-Star game, so I'm assuming he's doing all right. How did his season end up?
I think he's doing well. He's had a couple of injuries, but he's bounced back, and he is definitely going to be a player that will, I'm saying it now, he'll be at the All-Star game a few times in his career. Maybe not every year, but he'll be there a few times in his career. I don't think he's the player that gets you. He's not your player you build around, but he is certainly a key piece to moving in the right direction. They're going to get some more players that will be higher profile than him, but he was the number one pick. You have to think that they're going to put a lot of stock and investment in him. He'll be around when the team gets good. You hear a lot of people say, "Well, this is a team that's going to get us to a certain point," and then a lot of these players won't be here. Well, when the team gets good, he'll still be here.
And you will appreciate this, Grant. And again, thank you for your time. Lubie actually is 1-0 lifetime 1-on-1 versus Brandon Knight, who, of course, was a local product here. Yeah, he did not have one of those posterization dunks on Brandon Knight that day because Brandon Knight was playing while talking to, I think, Kobe Bryant on his cell phone. And and Lubie was running around like he was being guarded by somebody in the All-Star game. It was great. So he has a basketball distinction there, Mike Lubitz. Grant, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for being so generous with your time. Really appreciate you getting up with us here on the Ion channel.
Great catching up with you guys. Let's do it again.
We'll talk to you
All
again.
right, thanks so much. I like that guy, Mike Lubitz.
Fast. No, what do you mean? Whenever we go to basketball, he's one of my first moves. We love Grant. So
all right, a lot of things happening, and of course, Brian Flores got a job there. I thought that was a very significant development because I do believe he probably salvaged his coaching career. Mike Tomlin did for him. Good move, right? Keep him in the game. This way, there's no debate about whether or not this lawsuit was going to keep him out of the game. He's back in the game. And that puts him back in the picture. Did they create a job? I mean, do you need an assistant linebackers advisor and kicking team consultant? I don't know. What title did they give him, man? I thought that was great. Anyway, we'll get OJ's opinion about that. The great OJ McDuffie going to join us next year on Ion Channel on a Defo show. And don't forget about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Wow. I mean, what a great place for the holiday, huh? Maybe you haven't made plans yet. It's early enough in the morning if you're here on the East Coast and capable of driving down there. Or, if you're somewhere outside of the state of Florida, some other country, and you're thinking about coming to South Florida to enjoy the sunshine and the great weather that we've been having, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, a great destination. They have tremendous accommodations, but you'd have to look into that well in advance at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill because they're limited, but they're so spectacular that it really was an unforgettable experience, Mike Lubitz, being there in the accommodations, the lodging that's available at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Now, food and drink is what they're all about. The great vibe is what they're all about. You're going to get all of that, whether it's the freshest seafood and or all the way into our favorite now, which You have to have a lot of mouths on that Italian fisherman pizza because, like, one slice pretty much does
It's
you
like a
in.
lot. Yeah.
It's like you went to a seafood buffet at the MGM Grand. I mean, just sitting there on top of a pizza. It's fantastic, right? You just paid like $89 there at the MGM Grand.
Exactly.
There you're getting like a pizza at, a very reasonable price considering that, wow, I mean, it literally was stacked with like lobster and scallops and all kinds of stuff, calamari and virtually any shrimp,
Yep.
anything you could think of. That comes out of the sea, man. Unbelievable. It's absolutely great. Delicious the way they put it together. But that's only one of like a zillion items there that you're going to love. Very creative. Dominic and Jemmy in the kitchen there. And the service is fantastic. It's, as they say, spot on a Gordon Ramsay show. Because, they're right on top of it. And yet, it's casual enough so that you don't have somebody in your face. You want another drink? You want another drink? You're going to sit there all day? It's a very cool vibe there. Lauderdale in Key Largo, just unbelievable. I almost said Lauderdale by the Sea, same kind of thing
Well,
happening
feels
here.
nice,
Yeah, you're gonna love it. Great for a staycation if you're in Florida, and for a vacation if you're from out of town, or just lounging down there. I mean, drive down there. It's about from Fort Lauderdale, where we are, maybe an hour and a half, one on a hook.
Yeah.
And you're there, man, in another world. As soon as you get out of Florida City, the world changes. I mean, just the whole vibe, the whole feeling just changes. And I'm not saying that anything is bad, but it seems to be one of those things where all of a sudden you feel very relaxed and in tune with what life should be all about. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway, jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com for just any kind of information and or the menu and accommodations. And you're going to love it. Our thanks to Larry Calvano for being part of the show. And we're getting down there soon. And we will have John with us on the program tomorrow. All right, we're coming back with O.J. McDuffie, a former Dolphin great, and, of course, big star at Penn State. And we'll get into some football issues with O.J. McDuffie coming up in just a moment here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForrest, Mike Lubitz. Back with more in a moment on that. The time! 8:16.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
We always count on calling O.J. McDuffie, anything related to football or social issues. He's always brilliant on this. And we welcome him to the show here to help us celebrate O.J. McDuffie. Now, how many UM Penn State games? Were you ever involved in a UM Penn State game? Were you?
2. We lost both of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we lost both. We lost here. We lost, in this big game, beginning of the year, UM could have made that a night game, right? They could have made it a night game. It's early September. But instead, they made it a noon game. We're coming from Pennsylvania here, and then over the loudspeaker, they said, today's temperature is 94 degrees. I think we lost.
Oh, man.
We lost.
I think the game was over at that point right there. We knew it was over. We almost died, man. We probably had a whole team, the whole plane cramped up on the way home.
The Orange Bowl, too, was like walking on hot coals, was it not?
It was so hot. And it was the first game we decided we're going to wear. You know what? We're going to wear full jerseys. Penn State's known for those cutoff jerseys.
So this is the first game we decide, you know what, we're going to go out these full jerseys. They button at the bottom, like baby clothes, you know what I mean? Well, everybody was cutting that off. Everybody cut all the uniform back off, man. I was back to my half shirt. The hell with that, man. This is not going to work. This is not going to work.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
He started at Penn State University, was a huge star there and a multi-sport player, and of course was a brilliant player and the recipient of many an absolute howitzer of a pass from the great Dan Marino while with the Miami Dolphins. One of those guys that could catch the ball in traffic. We welcome to the program, and happens to be, I don't know, Lubie, this is probably a fair statement, might just be the coolest, most likable guy in town, huh? OJ McDuffie joins us here on the show.
If you were at his thing yesterday, you would have sworn that. Like the dude, literally, I didn't even get a chance to say hello to him. He had the Strikes for Kids bowling tournament at Spares over there in Davie, and every time he went to say hi, he was like, OJ, like people asking him, babies, women, grandmas. It was like he had the earpiece. It's like, is he running for office? I'm like, I'd vote for him, but like, I didn't know.
That's a great thing you do. Juice, welcome to the show. Good to have you on this fine Monday.
Oh, man. Thank you guys, man. Happy holiday.
Yeah, and we talked about this a few times in your previous appearances, and you do this every year, and you start a thing, and you yourself, an avid and accomplished bowler with any number of 300 games on your resume, and you got this bowling tournament going for charity, and Lubie said it was absolutely one of the most entertaining things of not only this type, but of any type of entertainment adventure that you could have here in South Florida that he's ever attended. So congratulations on that. Tell us about, what was happening yesterday and, how it worked out, because it sounded like a resounding success.
Oh, thank you, man. And that was I'm sorry to get a chance to say what's up to Lubie, man. I did get a little busy, man. But you know what, though, man? He's a rock star, man. Rock stars don't come up with other guys, man. You got to approach him.
Yeah.
So, man, you can't just, I didn't expect him to come up to me, man. But I was hoping, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we did. We had one hell of a turnout yesterday. Finally got back in the building at Spares because we couldn't do it last year because of COVID. We were still trying to be as careful as possible this year, even though I did see a couple of people get a little close to each other. But, I think for the most part, man, we just went out there and raised some more money, some good money for our Catch 81 Foundation, which used to be OJ McDuffie Catch 81 Foundation. Now it's the McDuffie family. I took my name off of it just, because my whole family is the reason that we do what we do. And they were a huge part of our success, man. And we had a good turnout. We had some guys, like always, Lubie and Defo, as you know, at a charity event that didn't show up. But then we had some other guys that did that I didn't expect to be there, man. And we had a packed house. We had about, what do you think, Lubie, about 40? We had about 42 lanes going up.
No, I think you have every lane. No, I was trying to do the math because I'm like, I think there's only 40 lanes, but I think you had like 50 lanes full.
Yeah, there was a lot of people going, man, with a DJ Hercules in the middle, man, and just a very good vibe, man. And people were just happy to get out and support, man. And as a charity, man, we appreciate that.
Your girl Juliet get out there? Because to tell you the truth, I mean, she's great, but bowling alley food, sometimes, I mean, I don't know how it is at this particular place, happens to be, among my many, many favorites, especially the French fries.
Yeah, they had some. My wife loves the wings there. They got some great wings. But now that wings are market price now. You see that?
Yeah, exactly.
Order the lobster tail instead, right?
One day was like, I need wings. I'm like, can you afford them? They're expensive.
They are hella expensive, man. But yeah, the food's really good. But Chef Juliet, you can't beat her food though. I mean, nothing compares to that. But yeah, she wasn't in the bowling alley, unfortunately.
All right, congratulations on the tournament. Lubie said it was a blast. Now we haven't spoken with you since the Super Bowl. I will say this, and I was never like this, Juice, because I'm like you. I'm very diversified in my sporting interests. And I was always surprised at the overwhelming dominance of football as a sporting topic on, doing, you do radio here and TV, and it just seemed to be, way out of proportion with the fact that there are other sports that people like to watch and are entertained by, but, they didn't seem to get this kind of coverage. But when you took a look at the Super Bowl and, I mean, it turned out great. It climaxed a season, and I never thought I would go through this kind of withdrawal the first week when there was no football after, because usually I'm thinking, okay, good, I'll watch some other stuff. And I found myself, actually for one of the first times or a few times in my life saying, wow, I wish there were some games this week.
Oh, man, you know what? And you know why? Because the last few weeks of NFL season and the last couple of games of the college season were just unbelievable, man. They won and they left us thirsting for more. It really was. And then all of a sudden, and then they threw that dud of Pro Bowl in there. You know what I mean? But
yeah, we could have lived without, like the NBA All-Star game.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. At least they start playing a little bit in the All-Star game at the end. The Pro Bowl is, I don't know why they still do that thing. But yeah, man, it was such a good season, I think. You know what I mean, Defo? And I think everybody was just, chomp at the bit to, for more of that was going on. But the NFL is so great about, being relevant and pertinent, all year long now. They're moving everything back and, remember the Super Bowl used to be close to mid-January, I think.
Yes.
Now it's like mid-February with added games and added playoff games and just, and then the next thing you know, you're in the free agency and combine and then the draft's already there. Then you're looking at OTAs. So they're really good about that, man. So you're right, though, man. Games is what it's all about. It's hard to imagine a sport like ours that kind of taken over in this country, and that's all people care about. I was looking at, there's some things that, some big games that were going on in some other leagues, and then all the headlines were all about the NFL.
Yes.
So it's amazing where the sport is going, but the games that we miss, man, they'll be right around the corner. They'll be coming soon.
We're talking with Dolphin legend, one of the hosts of the Fish Tank 81 podcast and the Catch 81 Foundation. Great tournament again. It was a blast yesterday, and thanks for having me, OJ. At Spares Strikes for Kids tournament, and it was a great turnout. And what was really cool is a lot of these guys have stuff, and some guys will show up. It's rare you see Jason Taylor there, and you see Pat Surtain, who just got a gig with the Dolphin there, and like Pat Surtain the second, who's one of the best corners in football right now, is there. He's like the little kid because they're all like his uncles, DP, Pat Surtain, OG, are like his elders. So like he's now like an All-Pro, and everyone wants his autograph, and he's like, Uncle DP. It was just really funny. So it's like a great turnout. One of the guys that's always around these things, especially since he's one of your good buddies, is Zach Thomas, guy that you played with and probably played against in practice. So you know as well as anyone what he was, how ferocious he was. What are your thoughts on Zach still not getting in the NFL Hall of Fame?
Man, it's been a joke for a minute now, man. You know what I mean? Look at the numbers. All you got to do is look at the numbers, man. The reason Zach isn't in the NFL because Zach's not going to pound his own chest, and pout and say, look, I deserve to be in there, man. He's one of the nicest guys, most humble guys. But, man, his numbers do not lie. You compare all the numbers, all the other guys, and some of them were first ballot guys, they don't lie. And the better that, people want to talk about, well, this guy went to Super Bowl, this guy won a Super Bowl. You know this, man. We all know how much of a team sport football is, damn, Danny went to one Super Bowl, and he got in first ballot. Man, it's different. I know it's apples and oranges. But at the same time, though, man, his numbers don't lie. And they do, not only that, but when you got guys up there like Peyton Manning, vouching for you, saying how smart he was and how tough it was to play against him. You got Kevin Mawai going in and say that Zach needs to be there because they battled for so many years in the AFC East. What else do you need? You don't need no writers or anybody else to vote to tell you that this dude needs to be in. Listen to the players that played against him.
Well, and he's not an overwhelmingly imposing figure like a Brian Urlacher, who many people that point out the injustice of Zach getting robbed year after year for going into the Hall of Fame say, well, if Urlacher's in there, how could Zach Thomas not be in there? And, Urlacher kind of looks the part, which makes Zach's career even more remarkable. We've been running this theory of ours because we're Mr. Fix-It here. You know what sports talk is all about. Well, we offer solutions, though, on this show, OJ McDuffie, and while other people consider them to be, bordering on criminally insane or irrational, we consider them very sound. And our belief is, and this is a theory that I'm borrowing from a friend of mine who you probably knew too, the great Ed Kaplan, who was a longtime broadcaster in South Florida, and he had some very sort of avant-garde opinions. But I think he's right about this. You're either a Hall of Famer or you're not after your 5-year retirement period is up. So now you become eligible. Why shouldn't there just be one ballot period and people decide? You're either a Hall of Famer or you're not right then and there. This thing of you're going to become one by attrition after like several more years of being out of the league. I find that to kind of be absolutely ridiculous when you either have the stature to be an Hall of Fame or you
Right.
don't right away.
Yeah, no matter what, the longer it goes, the more you're out of mind.
Yeah.
People start looking at other guys, and of course, other guys become eligible. When you run in, somebody's about to run into a juggernaut when Brady and Roethlisberger and all those. Whoever thought they were getting in that year, they might as well forget it.
Yeah, forget it.
That year's going to be stacked with guys coming out. So, and that's going to continue to happen. The eligibility of some of these guys starts to come up, and then you start getting pushed. From what I understand, that's why Sam Mills got in, because he was 1 year from whatever the senior vote or whatever that is.
Yes.
What I'm talking about. So, Sam Mills was good, but he was no Zach Thomas.
Well, and they put you on ice for another 15 years, and you go to the Veterans Committee there. I mean, they tortured Kuchenberg to his grave. I mean, this poor guy. I mean, just tell me yes or no. I can accept it. If you don't think I have Hall of Fame stature right away, then fine. I'm willing to accept that if I'm a person that's in that spot. And Zach, as you said, too humble to start grumbling or making noise or get somebody to get some kind of campaign going saying, "What, Sam Mills? Are you kidding me?"
Right.
All right. Do you believe, like some people do, O.J. McDuffie? We did this with Tony Segreto last week, and there are kind of many interesting things here that just curious to get your quick response to. Do you believe that Tom Brady will play in the NFL next year? Tom Brady.
Ooh, I do not.
Okay.
I do not. Man, he's got what else could he ask for, man? What else do you want? You know what I mean? This dude, he's got every single record. He's got all the damn rings. He's got beautiful family. I think he enjoys this. He sees what Peyton and Eli are doing and what Tony's doing. He'd rather do that instead of getting hit by somebody like, Emmanuel Ogbah. Who was that our event yesterday? I love this kid. It just seems like he's just kind of, not really riding off in the sunset, but man, pretty much doing so with the hell of a career. But why Tom? You've seen it sometimes where some guys hang on too long. Usually baseball or NBA players. Football
people
players.
Saying that about me in this business.
Yeah.
Not an uncommon thought. I've heard it many, many times, even from program directors while being hired. Nothing worse than being a shot fighter, my friend. No, but do you believe that he made that decision or Giselle? What do you figure on that front? What's your guess?
In my house, you got the same house I got. It was her to make the decision.
I was going to ask.
A very bold admission on your part there, O.J. McDuffie. Do you believe that Aaron Rodgers will be a Green Bay Packer next year, or will he play elsewhere, or not at all?
I think he will play elsewhere.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He'll play elsewhere. I thought, until I started looking at some of these contracts in Tampa, I thought he'd be the guy to replace Tom Brady. But how it is, man. I think a lot of times those guys that play these cold weather places try to get warm. So he's definitely not going to Jacksonville. He's definitely not coming here. So I was thinking Tampa might be a spot for him. So I'm not sure though, but he'll be somewhere. Hopefully he's out of the AFC. He doesn't come to the AFC. That's one thing I hope for.
Do you believe Deshaun Watson will play quarterback somewhere next year, possibly as he's maybe implied through whatever publicity machine he's got working for him? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which you would have to think if you were going to lose Brady, that's not a bad pickup.
Not a bad pickup at all. I do think he'll play next year. I think a lot of things that he's gone through will be settled one way or another, and he'll definitely get an opportunity, man, because the kid's obviously still talented. Sometimes people have these moral compasses where they want to throw against somebody, man, but there'll be somebody that will give him a shot, go in there and probably thrive. But yeah, he'll definitely play again next year.
Well, and I wanted to ask you, as we talk about things going on in the NFL, you still work closely with the Dolphins. You do like I think a pregame and a halftime show, both on the television and recap and on the radio down here in South Florida. And you do the Fish Tank 81 podcast. What are your thoughts on the Dolphins hire? Because you are an offensive guy. I know you like Brian Flores, and you were sort of shocked at his firing, but it was admitted that the offense did struggle. They go with a guy who's all offense and even a little bit old school, the way he runs offenses, and Mike McDaniel. A lot of people have loved his hires. What are your thoughts on the Mike McDaniel hire and some of his staff hires?
I thought he did a great job. A month out or right after Flo got fired, of course, everybody was who they want to hire thing, And then, of course, they're in the middle of the playoffs and, waiting on coaches to come interview that are, that are in the playoffs and, all these guys that are obviously very, very well qualified. But my buddy Travis Wingfield started talking about Mike McDaniel. I never really paid attention to him, so I started watching videos, and, hearing what people were saying about him, man. And we were kind of hoping we'd get somebody like that. Now, when you get somebody like that, then you worry about how they do staff wise, because we know how innovative he is and how smart he is. But can he command the room when you get in that big auditorium with all those grown men? Can you get their attention and will they listen to you? Sometimes that doesn't happen for some coaches. Great guys, whatever, but when they get in front of that, big room of alpha males, it becomes a problem, man. But then you see Mike McDaniel, and you see how some of these clips and hear him talking to guys and how he relates to guys. And then he goes out and the staff that he starts to put together, keeping half of our defense, and then bringing in a lot of guys from San Francisco. Then you look at, Wes Welker coming, Sam Madison coming, Pat Surtain coming, and then you realize, guys, he knows how to get it done. You got some guys that are young enough that can still relate to these guys that have played in the league at high levels and probably coached the game as well, man. So I thought the hire originally was outstanding. And once he starts to build the staff, it's even gotten better and better.
Talking to the great O.J. McDuffie. You can catch O.J. on his podcast and of course, all around town and always featured radio and TV and an excellent presence around any kind of Dolphin broadcast, because he makes you feel good about what even was maybe a lousy situation. I did not believe, O.J. McDuffie, that Brian Flores would get another coaching job in the NFL. I mean, I wouldn't have ruled it out, but I would not have seen him coming back. Now, is there a need for an assistant consultant to the linebackers coach? Did they create a job for him? Because if they did, I thought it was pretty cool. It seemed like Mike Tomlin might have saved his career by getting him right back into action, so that now he's in place. So it's not one of those Colin Kaepernick things where years go by and then finally the guy probably doesn't make a fit in the NFL anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, and I even stated that he wouldn't get another job, but then once it happened, I'm like, dummy, that's the perfect place for him to be.
Yeah.
Under Mike T, I mean, the Rooney Rule and the Rooney's always on the team. It's
good
like
stuff.
Perfect situation, and I was like, man, that should have been the first place I thought, man. Coach Flo is a hell of a defensive mind, and the Pittsburgh Steelers got better when they hired him. They really did. They got better. Only person that might not be happy is Minka, right? Fitzpatrick. When he saw the
yeah, but he's going to zero in on the linebackers, so Minka might be okay. Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, that's really, really great deal for him, man. Because I thought it would have been the Colin Kaepernick of coaching, when it comes to that situation. Of course, he'd probably have some, some money in his pocket, whatever the Dolphins would pay him, and if he win his suit. But he's a coach. He wants to be out there coaching, and kudos to Pittsburgh Steelers for seemingly always doing things the right way.
Yeah, the one of maybe 2 or 3 organizations, that has done what they possibly can do to rectify what everybody has been trying to do for years, at least supposedly. And unfortunately, the Rooney Rule turned out to be a disaster. Although, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the only way to make that change come about is to change the minds of the owners. No, there's 32 guys in charge there that, if they don't make the moves, then it doesn't matter, what kind of parameters they put in place. It just becomes, unfortunately, as Flores contended, a joke.
Right, man, no doubt about it, man. It really has been, man. I mean, it's shown its face. It's shown its ugly face, man, over and over and over again, how much of a joke it is, but it was a great attempt, and it looked like it was going to be a good attempt, man. And, you look at what San Fran gets. I think San Fran gets 2 third-round picks now because Mike McDaniel, is the biracial coach that came to us, and so they try everything they can possibly to get guys, teams or owners to make these decisions, and it's not happening like it should be.
2.5 black men. That's the NFL's sitcom situation, unfortunately, that they're in there. I do like the fact, Juice, that the McDaniel coaching staff now includes a couple of, very well-liked and respected ex-Dolphins.
Yep.
And, Wes Welker, I mean, obviously he got as much mileage out of his physicality in the NFL as anybody could possibly be expected to. Maybe Edelman's in that same category. They're very similar. Sam Madison was a great defensive back with Surtain. I mean, one of the, combos that you could talk about among the elite cornerback tandems that have ever participated together for any length of time on the same team in the NFL. I like that influence. I think that's a real positive step. I mean, we don't know how this guy's going to do, but he also was able to make any number of running backs prosper in his system there in San Francisco, including like many-time cast-off Raheem Mostert, who was a Dolphin briefly, and he becomes sensational. And then, Samuel, I mean, just unbelievable what he did with this kid.
Yeah, I mean, I love all that. Like we said, these guys, Sam and Pat and Wes, they got so much good street cred. And I think a lot of times we get coached by guys that never played position or never played it at any high level. So they really talk a lot of times about things on the field as theory, and we always talk about theory and reality. Yeah, coach, it looks like this is what you see and what you draw up, but in reality, when a guy like who I played it, who was at my ball yesterday, when Thomas Smith from Buffalo Bills in your face, then the reality sets in that this is not going to work out the way you drew it up. So guys like West and Pat and Sam, they can actually get up there and show guys how it's really going to happen, and that's important. Because everything happens so fast, especially for a guy like West, a wide receiver, inside guy, outside guy, motion guy. He's special, man. So I can only imagine what he can do with, guys like Wallow and, whatever guys, if Devontae's back and healthy and guys like that. I see Albert Wilson could be a Devo Samuel kind of guy. The way he runs, looks like a little running back there if he ever gets back healthy. There's a lot of things that he can do with them. And then you look on the defensive side with Sam and Pat. Sam should have never left, man. He should have been on our staff before he had to go to Kansas City. They had opportunities here to hire him before this. So I'm glad they brought him back home. And then Pat was like, man, that's a great bonus right there. So you got Sam and Pat coaching X and Byron. I mean, they're already great on our side, but those two great ones coaching them, it's going to be pretty impressive.
They might be able to replace them, I guess, if they're injured during the course of the season, and you wouldn't suffer too much, probably. Sam's like you, Sam Madison. I always loved Sam Madison. He's like you, OJ. Anytime you run into him, he makes you feel good. And that's a great quality, and that's why we love having you on the program. Thanks so much for sharing time with us. Congratulations again on the charity event. I'm glad Lubie got out there, smashing success. It sounds like you had more than your share of celebrity presence there, which, you would only figure that people would come out and support you, OJ McDuffie, because you're great with everybody else. Thanks so much for being with us here on the show.
Hey, thank you guys for always having me. I appreciate it.
We love you, Tristan.
All right, thanks a lot. OJ McDuffie.
Yeah, that thing was great, man. I know
Jason Taylor was out there, man. Was he bowling?
The thing is, a lot of JT was out there bowling. Patrick Surtain, who had just gotten this job, bowling. His son, literally, like Pat Surtain II was like an all-pro as a rookie out of Alabama. He comes there. It was really funny because he, right now, being the current player, is like famous, quote unquote.
Sure.
Than a lot of these players, but he didn't act like it. Like he was very meek, quiet, and like he goes up to because I played with Aronde. He's like, Uncle Aronde, like it's all his dad's there.
Aronde Gadsden bowling. I mean, his hands are so large, Lubie.
He's a strong dude.
He can't possibly use the holes on the bowling.
No, I think
does he have his own customized ball with like no holes in it?
I think he put like his finger in one and just flung it. It was classic. Pastor Tan's there, and like it was a really good crowd, and everyone seemed like Jason Taylor bowled, and he doesn't always even show up at these things. So like the outpouring of love for OJ was really cool to see. And OJ had the earpiece and he's walking around, and then he'd grab a ball, fling it, throw a strike, go down to the next lane, help with these people, throw another strike. I was like, what the hell? It was really cool to see like the amount of people there to support the kids and support the foundation and support OJ.
Very rewarding, too. I mean, we had two great former Miami star athletes here on the program today. Grant Long, of course, original member of the Miami Heat, played 15 years in the NBA. And just wonderfully expressive in his opinions, and we're able to have a lot of fun with him. And then OJ McDuffie, the same thing. Every time he comes on the show, I get a big kick out of it. Very forthright in his comments, and diehard still. I mean, I think that's possibly a good thing. Sometimes people would criticize it as some kind of team nepotism, where former players get jobs as coaches that they otherwise would appear to be unqualified for, which. In the case of Sam Madison, he has been coaching in the league. I don't know, Surtain, was he coaching somewhere?
Heritage. He was the
high school, yeah, right.
Coach, and they're like contending for titles. They like are the team that took St. Thomas off their spot. Like, it's a great move to make him like an assistant DB coach. Like that's freaking cool.
And both these guys were very meticulous. I mean, Sam was a little bit more of a showman when he was a cornerback with the Dolphins and in the league, and Surtain was all business and regarded as among the best man-on-man cover guys that the NFL has ever employed. So, I think that's going to end up being an asset. I don't mind seeing those moves at all. Whereas a lot of people would say, "Oh yeah, well, who are these guys?" But also good to see some new blood getting a chance. Although Sam was with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, no, he was DB. I didn't realize he was a secondary coach for a secondary that had its moments. But Tyrann Mathieu was one of the best safeties in football, and he coached entire DBs. Like, he did a really good job. But I already talked to him. I'm like, congrats, man. He's like, yeah, I've been wanting to get back here. I'm really excited to be back here.
The Honey Badger, and he came in. Unfortunately, there was some checkered. Storyline with his college days, right? Remember? And there was no great certainty. He was going to be a top pro, Tyrann Mathieu.
It's like a third-round pick. He was good with the Cardinals, but he's taking it to like a ridiculous level with the Chiefs. Like Madison did.
Very good player. Yeah. Almost always involved. In fact, didn't he get hurt? Yes. In the championship game, and maybe that was a factor, or he got hurt in one of the playoff games. Yeah. All right, we're coming back to wrap things up. A lot of fun having both those guys on the show, and we appreciate them taking a national holiday, taking their time out of their day, and coming on here on the Defo Show. It's great being with you. You can Google the Defo Show and find the archive of all of the shows, archives of all of the shows that we've done so far. A lot of fun, including our Degenerate Friday show, which has reached new levels of hilarity. How is the professor going to possibly top
He's the best.
What he did? And I don't even remember who he gave us as his basketball picks. He gave us a couple of games, so hopefully he was successful with those for you. But this new big board concept of his, with the upgrade in technology, that he also invested his own money in, I think, I consider that quite humbling. That somebody would go out of their way to do that for this show. So I think you're going to enjoy those. He's 2 for 2 on that.
Yes.
How's he going to top the big board of Super Bowl suck?
No, I have no idea.
The Trump party stuff was hysterical. It really was. That's worth checking out in the archives there. That was this past Friday's show. And definitely worth 5 minutes every time for sure. All right, and I'm saying that normally, you know me, I'm not one to blow our own horn here.
Well, he's classic.
Very self-deprecating when it comes to it, and we're sincere about that. We do believe that we're stealing a living here.
Oh, for sure.
And I think, I don't know, do I give that title to the Greek, or do I just steal it for ourselves and we put together a whole new gambling content show called Defo and Lubie, License to Steal? Saw Jersey Kyle, by the way. He's out of quarantine.
I talked to him. He said he's doing well. Thank God.
Tested negative, for the COVID-19. The Queen's got it. So, I mean, you would imagine that they're pretty careful with what the Queen's activities has been, Queen of England.
What is she doing? She's like 100. What is she even out doing?
Yeah, I mean, she's 95 years old, the Queen of England. And she's got COVID, but she apparently is okay. Yeah, is going to survive this thing, as was the case with Jersey Kyle. But he had lingering schmutz in his lungs and his head.
Yeah, that sucks.
What's the wake up? I mean, feeling bad, right? Out of the old Grateful Dead song, "Going down that road, feeling bad." You don't want to do it. All right, we're coming back with more. We'll wrap things up on this fine Monday, a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Appreciate the people on the chat line. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:47. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
Up for Blues Rock Entertainer of the Year, our man, Albert Castiglia. The Blues Music Awards takes place in Memphis. I think the final count is given somewhere in May, possibly. Might be worth getting up there, Michael Lubie. It's never been to Memphis. Memphis,
Oh,
Tennessee?
it's one of the places that Shirley and I have wanted to get to. Memphis and some of the other places in Tennessee. That'd be interesting.
Sounds like a decent endeavor there. Up against a pretty good crew of contenders, Albert Castiglia. If he wins it, it'll be well deserved. Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty heavy contenders in there, including another big time favorite of mine named Tommy Castro. Tommy Castro and the Painkillers, real good stuff. And thanks again to Al Poliak of the Funky Biscuit, Boca Raton, Florida, which I think is among the, if not the top musical club for my, kind of credentials to establish such a thing, right? Intimate, at the same time, tremendous sound system, and great acts coming in there all the time. Turn us on to a lot of good stuff. I'm watching some of this stuff, on YouTube. You can just punch up some of the shows, and they have these full shows from the Funky Biscuit. Remarkable.
Yeah.
What's gone on at that particular establishment. So we wish Al Poliak all the best there. I haven't talked to Al for a while. Huge fan of the Washington Commanders, Mike Lubitz. The Washington Commanders. We didn't get into any of the scandal with O.J. McDuffie. I don't know that it necessarily was appropriate. But this whole business with the Washington Commanders and Dan Snyder, it's weird because 32 people really do control the league.
Yes.
And they're all, for the most part, I mean, I don't know, are they untouchable? Yeah, I mean, they got rid of this crackpot that was running the Tennessee Titans.
Yep.
Bud Adams, was that the guy's name?
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Because, I mean, it's the old thing about the mobsters. We got to get rid of Lowe. He's about to become an embarrassment.
Exactly. That's when they get rid of them.
Yes.
You have to push it over to the point where they're like, oh, shit, it could cost us money. Oh, all right, Mr. Ross. See you.
Sponsors are covering their signage at the stadiums. In fact, they're asking to renege on their deals because you have openly racist people making blatantly embarrassing and, damaging statements. That gets their attention. You're right, Mike Lubitz, in the National Football League. I don't know about this sex scandal with Dan Snyder. I mean, how much of it do you need before you start to believe? And the do you believe heading that we seem to be favoring right now?
Yeah.
That maybe something was going on there that shouldn't have been.
Oh, we're going to talk with someone tomorrow, Megan Imbert. Who
very appropriate.
with the Washington, I guess they were the Redskins at the time. She is involved in the suit, and she can shed a light on what's happening there and maybe something of what's going on with the Cowboys, because we are sort of shaded when it comes to the Cowboys. You actually knew Dalrymple personally, so it's
I know him. I know him when he was a young guy. He was just starting out. He caught a tremendous break there. Not that it wasn't deserved. He was extremely helpful and good at his job. Did it in a very gracious manner. That seemed to be the same MO. And now imagine, I mean, if you're the publicity director, vice president of public relations for the Dallas Cowboys. And what is he always pictured doing there, Rich? He's always on the sidelines with Jerry.
Yep. No, that's
anything that Jerry does, the top guy is the guy that's. I mean, when Shula was with the Miami Dolphins, you can rest assured that Harvey Green was going to accompany him everywhere that he went. Right.
Yep.
How long are you going to be talking to Coach for? Right.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're the front man for Jerry Jones in this capacity, for 32 years, you have to figure that you became a very important element.
Yes.
And component of the Cowboys organization, and held the title of a vice president. The guy was always very, cool as a young guy. Now you don't know how somebody is going to be later on, right? We found out many times. Who knew that Bruce Jenner was going to be a woman, right?
Yeah.
So you see, you don't know. I mean, but behavioral, and human reactions being, all diverse. How do you know how a guy's going to turn? But it's hard to imagine that a guy would put his 30-year career at the time. I guess it was several years ago. So about 26 years he'd been with the Cowboys. That he's going to walk into the Cowboys cheerleaders dressing room and start shooting, video from behind a wall after all of this time. Hard to picture that if you knew the guy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's impossible that it happened. And then when the case is settled, now you said they just throw 2.4 million down on the counter to keep it out of the headlines because they don't even want anybody talking about this stuff, which it didn't become public knowledge, I don't believe, or at least it wasn't publicized until 6 years later. The suit was settled like 6 years ago, I believe. At least that's how I decipher the story now. So, it's hard to picture that Rich Dalrymple, the guy that I knew, would have been doing something that stupid. And then the other allegation or assertion was that he was, taking shots from underneath the dress of Jerry's daughter.
That's crazy. Like, come on. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, I never know what to do with any of this stuff. It always seems so far fetched until we find out. Oh shit. So like,
I mean, it honestly, I mean, just conceptually to me, it seems impossible that this guy that I knew would be doing that. But who knows? He did retire. He said he was going to retire anyway. He'd been in the league 32 years.
Yeah.
And I always admired the fact that this guy who we knew, who was super helpful to us when he was a peon at the University of Miami under the great Carl Schmidt, he was assigned to us because we were, at the time, sort of not a pain in the ass, but what we needed was something that, it wasn't necessarily a top priority for the athletic department, nor should it have been, and they delegated Rich to us as almost a personal assistant on this project, and he couldn't have been any better. I couldn't have been any more thrilled than to have that guy working with us. So it is hard to picture that after what seemed like a very distinguished career, right? The guy was on Entourage, for God's sake, with Jerry as part of his entourage.
Yeah.
Ironically enough. And, he obviously had done a very good job for Jerry Jones. I mean, you don't think Jerry's going to just put up with any putts
no,
in that capacity.
not for that long.
And how much publicity do you, A, generate, and B, have to deflect if you're, the PR head for the Dallas Cowboys? Who is more in the spotlight as a team with the owner out there constantly, exacerbating that situation? At least with Stephen Ross, it's only when he's appearing, to be a complete buffoon or a clown that you have to take the defense out there. He's not generating headlines every day.
Weekly.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones does a press conference every week, and he does a show every week.
Yes. So, it was hard to imagine a guy could last that long in a job and then have this serious, behavioral defect where he was doing that. But, the case was settled and he was the guy who was implicated. So, who the hell knows, Libby? What do I know? What am I, Judge Judy here? I don't know.
No, so that's why we're going to bring Megan on, who wasn't directly involved with Dallas, but was involved with all the fun that's going on in Washington. So she's going to give a woman's perspective, since we always speculate, but we never get the actual other side. Figure why not? We've talked so much about the Washington former Redskins football team, now Commanders. That figure she'll come on with us and also can touch on what she knows and what she's heard when it involves the Dallas Cowboys situation.
Teams in the NFL very proudly parade and go out and bring out their cheerleading squads as kind of the face of the franchise in many instances.
Yep.
And yet it always amazed me because, I used to do those intros on the field. So, you're talking to different people and, the cheerleaders are out there, and every now and then, you get into a conversation or be in an event where some of these cheerleaders, they used to come to the studios.
Yeah,
remember?
we would talk and bullshit
All the time, right? So, and the idea that they were making like $15 a game and were subjected to not only this ridicule and abuse from, coaches that were harder on them than Woody Hayes was on the Buckeyes of Ohio State.
Honestly.
Right? Where they have, weight demands and this and that and all kinds of bizarre scrutiny.
Crazy.
It seems very bizarre. There have been many, cheerleaders from the NFL that have gone on to excellent careers in a variety of things, including media.
Yep.
And, you've seen that, right? Our local weather girl that's been here forever, Julie Durda, very attractive young lady and big fan favorite was, I think, a San Francisco 49ers cheerleader, Lisa Guerrero, who was on Inside Edition. And, of course, the Best Damn Sports Show Ever was kind of her breakthrough there, and a lot of different stuff. Was a Rams cheerleader.
Yep.
So there have been many that have gone on to actually, distinguished careers, not just because of their great attractiveness, but, it seems ridiculous, though, to subject yourself to this level of abuse, literally. $15 a game to go out there and schwitz all day in 100-degree heat and have to look perfect doing it.
That's crazy.
And then you're going to have, like, team executives like making nude videos of you. I mean, please, how crazy is that?
It's just a lot. The whole thing's
Yeah. There's something going on there. I mean, with the Commanders there, it doesn't exactly add up. Would you say?
With Snyder.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what's going on in Dallas. That's a whole other thing. But Snyder, come on, that dude.
Yeah.
He's creepy.
All you have to do is mention Dan Snyder to John Feinstein.
Oh, we'll get him on at some point too.
I think, yeah, we need another
the
dose
best.
of Johnny Feinstein here on the show, man.
I
That guy's great. I mean, a distinguished author and, I mean, prolific writer, tremendous sports opinion. I mean, you love his approach. He gets to the story. I mean, it's so great. And then you mentioned Dan Snyder, and the guy goes apoplectic, just absolutely starts binge freaking.
It's the best.
Right? And 45 minutes later, we go, hey, John.
Thanks.
Good talking to you. No, he's great. Fantastic. We'll have to get him on there because, I mean, this thing has got a lot of steam to it, or so it seems. I mean, it couldn't persist like this story, if there wasn't at least something going on there. Well, would you agree, Lubie?
Yeah, well, but what's great about John is like Snyder's the worst, but they never can get him. So that's why I like talking to him, because whenever we think they're close to getting him, John's like, nah, they're never getting him.
Never. No, he dodges every bullet, man, because he's an NFL owner, man. 32 guys run this whole giant, I mean, mega entertainment industry.
Yep.
Really controlled by like 32 guys. Pretty incredible. And all of the rules and all of this stuff that the fans get all crazy about, it really doesn't matter because these 32 guys are making out like bandits. It's amazing. We love it, though. I have to say, I had a little, I mean, I can only watch so many snowboard cross events there at the Olympics.
It's funny.
People skiing uphill.
One night, I was like, man, I need some sports. Oh, Olympics. Okay. And then I put on something and I'm like, I can't get into this.
It was always
Like,
cross-country skiing, something involving cross-country skiing.
I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I can't.
It was crazy. I mean, wood shopping and cross-country skiing was an event there. As we said, mutant, transgender cross-country mega, marathon. In one race, they went like 30 kilometers. What is that? That's like 60 fucking miles.
They get the money for that of their course. Like, they make sure that course gets used, boy. Like, they don't mess around.
Isn't a kilometer like, 2.2 miles or something?
It's 1.5 miles, I think.
1.5? Oh, yeah. It's less? Okay.
It's like, I think it's more like it's more than like a 1.5 or 2. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
I thought a kilometer was like 2.2 miles or something. Is that right? Doesn't make any. It's 2.2 pounds, right? A kilogram. What the hell do I know? Hey, let's get out of here before we get in trouble. You guys realize, I mean, the math really starts to turn to mush right around 9 o'clock in the morning.
1 kilometer. We're both very wrong. It says 1 kilometer is 0.0621 miles.
Like I said, it's way shorter than a mile, right? We should have known it. A 5K is only 3,200 yards. Oh, Jesus.
I think that says it all. Happy President's Day. Thank you.
The party's over. We go Don Meredith with you. The party's over, ladies and gentlemen, but not until we come right back to you tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll have John Kajemi with us, Brett Tester, the agent to the stars. We'll see if he's behind that potential boycott of the combine.
Yeah.
By clients. I would imagine, I mean, are agents all united? Because it's a very cutthroat business in addition to, having... Is there a union of agents in the National Football League? You have to belong to some organization?
You have to definitely pass tests and stuff to become an official agent. So you would think it's kind of a group or something.
I don't know if they're united in this thing. I mean, it sounded, you think the NFL is going to lift these restrictions because the agents are pissed that they don't want their players subjected to bubble-like conditions in a shithole city like Indianapolis?
Probably not.
How many cities have I labeled as shitholes?
Well, Indianapolis and
We're
Cleveland.
not going to be too popular there. No, we mean no offense. It's a beautiful city.
No, it's not.
I could go back today. In fact, I'm going to tell the Mustang to book a flight to Indianapolis so I could just once again revisit the Larry Bird statue.
Yes, it sucked. I'm sorry. I don't feel bad.
Grab a couple of sliders from White Castle, get right back on the plane, and hope not to have to use the head. All right.
Horrible.
Like that thing with Mayo with Skyline Chili. My God, did you see what they're doing? They're selling like Skyline Chili in cans in stores.
What?
And it's cream of mushroom soup. That's
exactly. Exactly.
Because it wouldn't matter. Because it tastes like shit. Mayo. No, we love you, Mike. All right. We'll catch you later on, Believe
Yeah,
Podcast
yes.
Network, and we're getting into this
reasons.
thing. And then tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have also some of this business about the Washington Commanders with a woman who was on the inside of that organization and now is coming forward and talking about it. So we'll see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. Thanks for tuning in and taking time out of your holiday to be with us here on Ion Channel. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. And we'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
9:03 here on the East Coast, people.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.